Hey Yoga fam, Jessie here. For those of you who are practicing with me for the first time, hello, it's nice to meet you. My pronouns are she and they. For those of you who have been practicing with me either online or in real life for a long time, I'm so glad to be with you, even in this virtual way. Excuse me. Um, It took me a while to settle into teaching in this new format, but I've found it to be really healing and still collaborative. So I just want to thank you for being here and for inspiring me to get on the mat. Um, Today, we're going to do a restorative grounding simple practice, nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated. Because I don't know about you, but I could use some grounding right now. I think, excuse me, um, I think that this year has been very untethering. Like whatever was nailed down has been ripped up. And the good news is we get to move it all around. But uh, it's hard to do that when you don't feel grounded. So, what does grounding mean? What does grounded mean? What does it mean to feel that? When I think of grounding and grounding practices, I think of things that help me get to the here and now present moment. Um, I have complex PTSD from a long list of childhood traumas, and feeling disconnected has been a large part of my life. And I think that's why my yoga practice has offered me such a rich and um, supportive place to figure out what being grounded means. I I know that it's hard when your nervous system is going haywire to just breathe. Like when we're like, just breathe, that sometimes that can be a really disconcerting idea because it takes everything to breathe. It takes a lot of work to show up. And so our practice today will be about showing up. The physical part will be the support container. These grounding practices offer some space to show up where you are right now, away from judgment or trying to fix it or needing to like pinpoint why we feel the way we feel. We have a whole lifetime to explore that. But for today, the idea is to remember that we can come back to ourselves anytime we want to. And that if all you did to ground yourself today, like if you turn the video off now, maybe you just get a deep breath in and a big breath out before you go on to whatever else you do today. So, we're going to need props, whatever you've got at home. A bolster, some big pillows, a couple of blankets or big towels, some blocks or books or like a chair or the edge of a couch to help support you and your props. Um, yeah, if you want to pause and get yourself together, um, you can do a lot of this without too many props as well, so don't stress about it. Um, they're just there to support us. We're going to start seated. So I'm sitting up on some height to support my pelvis and low back. You don't want to feel like you're getting sucked under yourself here. You want to feel like your spine can be upright. Then from there, I like to cross my legs one in front of the other, kind of like this. Um, and if, like my legs, your knees don't come all the way down to the floor when you kind of scoot forward, you may want to bring another blanket or a block or something under your legs to help support them. I'm going to grab this little bean bag because this leg is just an inch up off the floor. There we go. It'll be worth the time to make those adjustments and feel like as much of you as possible is touching the floor or props. Okay, big breath in, big breath, all the way out. Couple more, just like that. Try to fill up with as much air as you can on your inhale. And then exhale big. Maybe blow or push the air out or flutter your lips. Notice what it feels like to flush your system with breath. Fresh oxygen, releasing CO2. Giving our lungs a chance to sort of work at capacity. And what does that feel like? Excuse me. I know in my own body, I felt a shift. As soon as I became more aware of my breath, I don't know, I started to show up where I am in this room, on my props, just this moment. That doesn't mean other stuff won't show up. It's more than welcome to. Whatever shows up on our mat is the right thing. So never stress. I mean, and I'm saying this for myself as much for anyone listening right now, but never stress when your brain stays busy in your practice. That's okay. We just have a lot to work with as we ground and connect back to the moment we're in. And that's not a problem. One way I like to think about grounding and centering at the beginning of practice is I imagine there's like this is going to be a little out there, so bear with me, but almost like a column of light that goes all the way from the top of my head down through my spine, out my tailbone, and all the way down to the center of the earth. And then all the way back up from the center of the earth, rooting through me, out through the top of my head, out through, the field of my energy, back into the universe. This idea that even if we feel untethered or disconnected, that we are always able to ground down um, in a way that is, like gravitational, right? Like our relationship to uh, the moment we're in is grounded, is rooted. And from there, we can offer ourselves a little bit more of a focused breath. One way to connect to yourself in the moment you're in is with an Ujjayi pranayama, an audible, uprising, victorious breath. And you'll start to hear yourself breathe. Deep inhales through your nose, gentle engagement of the muscles in the back of your throat, and deep breath out through your nose. Push the air through your nostrils like you are going to fog up a tiny mirror in front of your face. Or if you know me, I love to say it sounds like Darth Vader breathing a little bit. The longer I practice, the more spontaneously Ujjayi breath enters and exits my practice. It almost happens as a response to showing up. That's one of the reasons I like to cue it and offer it to myself or to you at the beginning of class is um, so that you kind of check in with what your breath sounds like. So if you start to feel far away from yourself, you have this anchor point, this place to come back to. Feel free to switch the cross of your legs or change where they are at any point, even if I don't cue it. We'll add a little movement here as we breathe. Start by dropping your chin towards your chest. Breathe into the back of your neck and shoulders. And if you'd like, you can rock your head side to side. You could just lift and lower your chin a few times. You could just stay and breathe deep, maybe Ujjayi Pranayama, in and out through the nose. And then come back through center. Bring your arms up overhead. You can reach them as high in the air as you want. One option would be interlace your fingers, flip your palms, and push up. Ooh, that was the option I wanted. You could do anything you want. And then release. Bring your left hand to the floor outside of your hip. Reach your right arm up and over your head, over your ear. Lean to the side. Breathe. Press down through your hips. Reach out through the top of your head. And then come on up. We'll go the other direction. Hand to the floor, arm lifts, tip to the side. Come on up. Roll your shoulders forwards and backwards. Just make sure you go in both directions. You could alternate directions. And then we'll twist to the right. So we'll bring our left hand somewhere on your right leg, right hand somewhere back behind you. So I'm sitting on a bolster. My right hand found the bolster easily. If you're sitting on some height, the floor might be far away. So you can always bring your hand to your low back. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. If it feels safe and comfortable to let your eyes close, let your eyelids get heavy. See if you can imagine that column of light rooting you all the way down, 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 tethering you to the earth, and then shining all the way back up and out and through the top of your head. Maybe you peek back over your back shoulder for a breath or two. And then exhale, look forward, unwind your shoulders, come back through center, and pause. Find your breath. Check back in with right now. How does it feel to sit here? What do you notice about your breath? Are there any sounds nearby? Or anything you can smell? what's here. When you're ready, twist the other way. Don't worry about it if it's different, whether that's in form or feeling. We're truly not looking for it to be the same. The recognition we find in the connection to ourselves is infinite. There are so many ways to experience having a body. There are so many ways to ground into the moment we're in. And so what works here is just that. It's not an answer. I mean, really, it's probably another question. So take your time asking yourself here. Feel free to peek back over your back shoulder if that works in your neck. And then unwind. Take a moment through center. Breathe deep. We're going to find our way onto hands and knees. So we'll use all these props again. You can kind of just shuffle them out of the way for now. I'm a big fan of a blanket under your knees or a towel if that's what you've got. We'll set up with our shoulders over our wrists, hips above the knees. Before we do anything, like any movements in particular, find your breath. What does the mat feel like beneath your hands? What's the temperature of the air on your skin? What sensations are present in your body? Melt your belly towards the floor. Lift your chest, head, and tailbone up. A little cow pose. Spinal extension. Press your hands down. Arch your spine towards the ceiling. Drop your chin. Drop your tailbone. Cat. And then go back and forth a few times through flexion and extension of the spine, commonly known as cat and cow. And instead of trying to feel any one thing, see if you can instead explore your whole body, like the entire self is present. And if you get a little stuck noticing one part of your back or one part of your limbs, see if you can bring it back to the entire shape. If you can fold yourself into yourself. And then come back through center. We're going to step, let's see, how are we going to do this? We're going to step the left foot back, toes tuck under. Oof, stretch your heel away from your head. Just a little calf and hamstring stretch. And then we're going to open up into the side plane for a modified gate pose. Right foot swings off to the right, off the edge of your yoga mat. Left foot spins down flat on the floor, toes point to the left. And then your left arm can either come up to your hip, up into the air, or you can reach over your head away from your foot. You could do all three of those things, none of those things. But what's here? Not just in a passive way, but what's interesting for you? What helps you connect to your whole being? Not just one part highlighted, but parts sort of illuminated back into the whole. That's not a real thing. Illuminated back into the whole, that's a terrible sentence. I apologize for using it. It doesn't mean anything. It's hard to teach and practice because I get all gooey. I'm like, yeah, illuminate back into the hole. Oh, if it's your first time practicing with me, welcome. If you've known me for a long time, hi. I'm still the same. I'm just alone in my house now. Step your right foot back when you're ready if you haven't already. Stretch your heel away from your head. And then swing your left foot to the left, spin your right heel down, and open up, whatever that means for you here. Oh, big stretch. The idea behind that misguided sentence from before really has more to do with that we don't pay attention to specific things in our body to get rid of them. More that we pay attention to things in our bodies to be more connected to ourselves. Come on down to hands and knees. Sit back on your heels, lift your chest, palms face up, chin tucked. This is upward facing child's pose, and it's one of my very favorite grounding postures. If you wanted to sit on a bolster or a block, if sitting on your heels is no good for your knees or your feet, help yourself. And when we notice things in our bodies, sensations, stuckness, lack of awareness, or like too much awareness, try not to let that lead you to despair. Try not to get too stuck on the difference. But instead, see if you can use the dichotomy of what you're feeling, the this and that, to get a more full spectrum you experience. Breathe deep here. Bring your left hand to the floor. Oops, sorry, plant. Bring your right arm up and overhead, tip to the side. And then come up and switch. Go the other way. And then come back through center. We're going to come into a little restorative sequence. So we're going to need a bolster or a couple of big pillows. We're going to need a blanket or two, some blocks, a scarf. You'll see when we get there. You want to feel like you're fully supported in restorative yoga poses so that your body can relax and your nervous system can try to relax. It's a big try, right? The nervous system, we don't really have control over it, but we can offer these kind of regulatory practices to soothe it and like remind our bodies literally that we're safe and supported. So, I like to do this pose sitting on a blanket. You're more than welcome to not sit on a blanket. And then I like to have another blanket or towel. I like to use this little gray blanket here on deck. You'll see why in a moment. Your bolster or your pillows is going to go the long way in front of you. And then you're going to sit with your knees bent, your butt on the floor, your heels just off to the side. And you want to have your thigh and the short edge of the bolster or pillow touching. From here, what you'll do is you'll bring one arm to either side of the bolster and lower yourself down onto it, like this. If the bolster feels too far away, which it definitely does for me today, You can prop it up either with blocks or a second bolster or pillow, or you could lay blankets down like this and just make the bolster taller. If your head feels like it's craning, we don't want that. Get a pillow or do lift the bolster higher. I have a second bolster that I'm going to use like this today. Yes. Let's see. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And it'll be worth getting everything just right. Um, I'm going to use a blanket between my top knee and my ankle just because I think that's more comfortable. Let me turn this. Don't be afraid to experiment. Oh, I think that is going to be. Wait. Nope. See, you you do this for a long time and still not know what your body needs until you're getting there. Okay, I think this might be the thing. There we go. If you're wearing glasses, feel free to take them off. Your head can turn away from your knees to add more twist in the upper body, but it is not necessary. If it feels stressful or painful, pick the option that does not feel stressful or painful. Give yourself a moment to fidget and adjust to make sure that your elbows and forearms are on something. So if they're hovering in the air, maybe slide a couple blankets or pillows or blocks under them. Deep breath. You might notice that the brain is buzzing, or it might feel like your nervous system is doing a little dance. You might even feel like you were holding yourself up there. That I did. I noticed just tension where there didn't need to be tension. Again, it's totally normal for stuff like that to happen. When we're just practicing dropping back in, just like we did in that very first seated shape today, into the moment that's just here and now. Deep, full breath in, and big breath all the way out. If there are places in your body that are demanding your attention, either because of sensation or just habit, see if you can breathe some of that sensation, some of that awareness back into the rest of your body. Almost like you zoom in and then zoom back out. Be like, yes, this shoulder is a part of my whole body. Let your awareness just drift and jump from thing to thing to thing. Because there's not one thing we're looking for. We're just spending time with ourselves as we are. Couple more breaths. If your head is turned away from your knees, go ahead and unwind your neck so your nose is back towards your toes. Take a few breaths there. Use your hands on the floor to help yourself up. Nice and slow. And very gently turn so that your legs are unwound, I guess we'll say, and fold forward casually. We're not even going to call it a forward fold. We're just going to say fold forward. Let your chin come towards your chest. Breathe deep. And help yourself upright. And we'll go the other direction. So we'll turn. You may need the same props. You might want different props. You're going to line your left thigh up with the bolster so it's touching it. You can put a blanket between your knees or ankles, and then one arm to either side of your bolster, and lower your chest and shoulders down. Your torso comes to rest and be held. So this side might feel really different. You might want to bring something under your arms, even if you didn't before, or add something under your head and neck. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted, was the elbow support. And again, you have full permission to adjust this, to wiggle and shift and like kind of undo and redo, so that once you get to a place that you can stay for a little while, there's nothing left to do but breathe. And it doesn't mean that the only thing that will happen is breathing. It just means that you are only responsible for watching your breath in and out. One exercise I like when I'm having trouble staying in the here and now in a yoga pose is I imagine that my breath had a color. You can pick any color you want, and that it is most saturated right at your lungs. And as you breathe, I try to imagine like I'm breathing that color all through my body. It might be less saturated at the edges, but the deeper I breathe, the longer I stay with it. Maybe, just maybe, I can breathe enough to get that color of the breath fully saturated throughout my whole body. And maybe not. Maybe there's a limit. That's okay. That limit is also you. Whether or not you like that exercise doesn't matter. You can let it go if it didn't work. You can stay with it anytime. You can do that anytime you want. Another minute or so here. Maybe coming back to the sound of your breath helps bring you back to the moment you're in. And if your head is turned away from your knees, gently turn your nose back towards your toes for a few breaths. Gently help yourself up nice and slow. We'll come into another easy forward fold. Oh. Oh. And then help yourself upright. We're going to lean back on the bolster. So um, you're going to need something for under your outer legs. So either a couple of pillows, a couple of blankets, a couple of blocks. You're going to bring your feet together and your knees wide apart. And then you might want to make the bolster taller here. The height it's at might work well. And you're definitely, I always think I prefer this shape with an extra little towel, pillow, or blanket behind my head. So that when you lie back and you open your arms, or you could keep your arms on your belly, that your chin tucks a little, even as your chest and shoulders open. And so we'll be here for a few minutes in this very open shape, Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined bound angle pose. A lot of stuff comes up when we open our hips and when we open our shoulders, and we're doing both here. So try not to get too stuck on any one thing or any one aspect of this shape, this opening. And see if you can stay with watching your breath and experiencing your whole body here, from your fingertips to your toes, from the top of your head down through your tailbone and all the way back up. All of you. Not just a brain, not just thoughts, not just your nervous system and reactions. All of those things and more. Your body, your organs and bones, your dreams, your connection to yourself, to the world around you. When we're able to ground ourselves in the moment we're in, we have more agency to move back out into the world with, I don't know, a little more balance maybe, a little more equity, both in our own practice and with others. When we're grounded in the moment we're in, we're able to move more clearly back into whatever it is we're connecting to. We're able to parse out what is here and now and what is a valid thought, feeling, memory, but maybe that isn't so much where we physically are as it is in our head or in our perception or in our experiences. And that is powerful information. When we make the conscious effort to connect to ourselves instead of disconnect, the shift is palpable. And all it takes is a deep breath in and a long breath out. A couple more rounds of breath here. And help your legs come back together, feet on the floor, knees bent. It might feel good to let your knees drop together and walk your feet apart a little bit, or you could just keep your knees over your ankles. You could even windshield wiper your knees side to side a little bit. Mm. Let your legs drop to the side and use your hands to come up to seated. Now that you've spent some time grounding in your body, what do you need? Do you want to lie down for Shavasana or sit in meditation? Do you want to throw your legs up the wall or maybe go for a run? Are you ready to move on with your day, or do you need time to journal or just be alone? Anything that shows up is correct. When we allow ourselves time to connect to where we are and how we feel, we are better able to move through the world with more clarity and awareness and connection. And so that's where I'm going to leave you. Take 5 minutes, less, more, to do what you need next. To trust that you grounded in yourself for a reason. And you get to decide what that is. And thank you all so much for sharing your practice. Hail yourselves and have an awesome rest of your day.